Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. On today's episode of me talking about STEM and things, I'm going to be going over Enter the Queen. Before I continue, link below are some referral links to survey sites and a survey. Please check those out if you have not already. Now, this episode marks the grand return of Laura Zara after 5 years away. She has completed 5 other challenges before this, and spoiler alert, she's going to be taking on her 7th challenge on The Last One Standing Season 3. That's right, she's going to be competing alongside Matt, Max, and Kai, along with 10 other survivalists. Who they are, we don't know yet for sure. I'm sure some people know, but I do not. But on to this episode. It was filled with healthy masculinity, one of the best engineering feats of the franchise, and of course Laura's there. So what's not to like about this episode? The episode takes place in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, more specifically Dos Lagunas. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But the challenge was actually near where Ernie and Amanda's challenge was. So that's cool that they're using similar areas. One more challenge in the Yucatan, and I'm just assuming there's going to be a spinoff there. Or they're just like, hey, we have this area. We'll just put some challenges intermittently. It's great. It's fine. Everything's great. Now, Laura Zara is on her 6th challenge, and she brought a knife with her, and she has a PSR of 9.6. We are also introduced to our 2 other survivalists, Justin and Malik. Malik brought a knife, and his starting PSR is 5.7, and Justin brought a bug net, and his starting PSR is 6.3. They also get a pot and a fire starter, and then they head off to what they believe is a cenote, but it turns out to be more of a lagoon, and it's 4 miles away from where they are, so they start hiking. From watching the episode, this is a great partnership right off the bat. There are no egos. Malik and Justin aren't like, oh, I think I know best. I'm not going to listen to Laura. No, they're just like, hey, we're good buddies, and Laura's here. This is going to be great. She's a legend. This is going to be the best day ever. And then we also get some of Malik and Justin's backstory. Malik loves the outdoors, but he had health issues as a kid. But once he started doing survival stuff, he really enjoyed it. He is a metal fabricator. He is worried about his weight, and he came in pretty thin, so that's some unfortunate foreshadowing. Justin, he says he's not a survivalist, and spoiler alert, he completes the challenge, and he says he's still not a survivalist, but I think he's a survivalist. But he is really tough. He is a retired MMA fighter. He's a part-time engineer, and he says he's a full-time knucklehead, I believe. He also walked across Madagascar. He was also doing a race, I can't remember the name, and he fought a shark, and it went away. So that's also exciting. And he was also kidnapped in Egypt, but everything turned out well. But he was also deported from Egypt after that because he went to authorities and they thought he was a spy. So that's crazy. So this is just, a walk in the park. This is another easy thing for them. He doesn't struggle at all, really. And so while they're hiking, they find water, and that's great. But then a storm comes in, and so Malik starts building the framework for the shelter, and Laura and Justin find some palm fronds, and they start getting that together because, it's raining and they don't want to be cold. And Malik is very enthusiastic. He starts building, and Laura gives him a few tips on a better way to make it more effective by saying he needs a steep hitch. And then Justin works on a reflecting wall for the fire. And even though everything is wet, they do manage to make a fire, and they have a good shelter. So they're so far so good. And then on night 1, Malik starts making music via thigh slaps, and Justin joins in, and it's very nice and wholesome. But then the mosquitoes start, and the mosquitoes are terrible. They're terrible almost this whole time, and so that's not fun for anyone. And then day 2, Laura gives directions on improving the shelter. So they raise the frame of their lean-to to create a wider sleeping area and to be able to spread out their bug net more, which I believe Justin got from Amazon because he's like, oh, yeah, I just went online and bought the first thing that looked good. And it was a very fancy bug net. It hung from the roof and went out, so that's cool. And so they do that, and then there's a point where Justin is cutting some wood, but he accidentally cuts himself, but he uses the bark from the chaca tree to help with the cut. And then the great partnership is even more emphasized. Everyone's getting along really well. There's no ego. It's great. Day 3, the hunt for food begins, and Malik finds some prickly pear, and Laura finds some elephant seed pods. that she then roasts the seeds and they have a nice meal. We jump to day 5 and the discussions of protein begin, and they start looking for turtles. And unfortunately, there are crocodiles in the lagoon they're in. And Laura decides to come up with the idea for a turtle trap, which is a mix between a fish and crab trap. So Malik kind of starts working on that. And on day 7, the progress is shown and it's looking really good. And also on day 7, Laura spots an iguana and they hunt for it but are unsuccessful, which is really sad. And Malik is struggling with the lack of food and the bugs. He came in pretty thin, and so his high metabolism is not really working out for him. And Justin gives him a pep talk, and it's really nice. And it's great to see this healthy masculinity going on and, the vulnerability of it all. And it's great to see vulnerability of the survivalists because then people can connect with them. And so it's really nice to see. But then it's really sad because Malik is kind of mentally going downhill. And it's like, no, come back. We want you to stay. And on night 7, we get a lot of Malik tending to the fire and talking about how it's difficult for him to stay warm. And so even though he can't sleep, he's the one maintaining the fire because he's the one that needs the most warmth, and unfortunately he's struggling. And on day 8, he isn't doing well. And I wanted to point out how there's a point where Malik is lying in the shelter and we hear Justin say like, oh, are you all right, buddy? But if you look at Justin's mouth, because it's kind of far away from him, but he's going to pick something up, you don't see Justin's mouth move, so it's just like, continuity error. They placed a soundbite from something else right there. Oh my gosh. And there's also a point when they're doing their insertion hike when Justin's saying like, oh, there's a game trail over here, but I don't think he has his bag on, so it's like, oh, did they just cut that from somewhere else? It's very interesting, the continuity of it all, but oh well. And yeah, so Malik is having a hard time, and he's not really eating and has no energy. And unfortunately, he does decide to leave. It is an emotional exit. Malik is crying. Justin is crying. Laura's upset. And it's nice to see the survivalists connecting in a way where it's friendship and they're not like attacking each other, or they're not being like, oh, why is he leaving? Oh, he's laying around, blah, blah, blah. But no, Justin's upset. He really wants Malik to stay around. Laura wants Malik to stay around, but Malik just can't really deal with the lack of energy and lack of food. He just can't go on anymore, so it's really sad. And Malik leaves. And for the second time, we don't get any final narration from the narrator about Malik. We don't get a final PSR. I guess either enough people complained enough about the PSR dropping, or production just doesn't want to include it. They want to emphasize the people who make it all the way through, and the individuals who are leaving, there may be more to the story than what the audience has shown, so they don't want to get any backlash if a PSR drops only a few decimals and people might get upset, but they're just like leaving it as is. Maybe if some of the individuals come back for a redemption, then we'll see what their actual PSRs are. But for now, we don't get a final PSR and Malik leaves, and it's really sad. And so on day 9, Justin is upset that Malik is gone, and Laura and Justin continue work on the trap. They gather vines, and Laura continues the construction, and Justin gets a bait ball for the trap. And then he decides to make another trap, the one where you have the stick and there's a big rock on it. I don't know if I could say the word because YouTube, but yeah, he has a big rock and it's pushed up by a stick, and he puts some bait near it, and if something pushes the stick, then the rock falls. And that was a smash. Yeah. So day 10, Justin checks the trap and there's nothing in it. The trap doesn't really work. Day 12, there's nothing in the turtle trap, but they see an iguana and try to chase after it, and it goes into a cave. They try to smoke it out. Justin moves a big rock near the entrance of the cave, but unfortunately the iguana evades them. And actually on day 10, I need to backtrack for a second. There is an iguana that is under the trap, and Justin and Laura successfully get the iguana, and they get a nice protein lunch on day 10. And then the few days after, there's nothing in either traps. And on day 16, they begin construction on a dock, which Justin comes up with the idea of. He was actually inspired by the dock that was made on XL8 and the bridge that was made on XL7, or at least the dock that Matt kind of had the idea for on XL8, yeah. that Dan and Waz helped him build. He kind of got inspiration for that. And I think that this dock is beautiful. It was a great feat of engineering. And I think this would probably be like one of the top 3 to 5 engineering feats on the challenge. And Justin did an amazing job with his idea. And Laura worked really hard on it as well. And Justin, using his engineering background. And the dock was nice. It was sturdy. There was a point where Justin jumps off of it and it stays steady. It doesn't break at all. And so the plan is to make a platform so that potentially grab turtles from it and they wouldn't be vulnerable to the crocs. Day 17, the build continues. They have 4 tripods on each corner, then cut down trees to make slats. They then make an awning to cover it from the sun. They test it out and it holds really well, as I said before, but I'm also looking at my notes for this and I just want to make sure I'm saying everything I need to say. On day 18, the hunt for turtles begins. Day 19, the hunt continues. There's a point where Justin leaps off the platform to try to get a turtle. There's a lot of B-roll of a turtle. I don't think it's the one that Justin is chasing, though. And Justin said in a Facebook Live that he was a few feet away from where the potential home of one of the crocodile was, so he stopped and went back, and I think that was the scariest moment for him. And so on day 20, the 2 decide to sleep on the dock because they either would have to go an extra 3 miles to go around the swamp area, or they could save the 3 miles by going through the lagoon and head straight to extraction. And they decide to camp out on the lagoon to make it easier for them. People were saying, oh, why did they go on the dock? It's not that far from camp. And I believe I read somewhere that Justin was saying how it was a lot more comfortable to be on the dock because it was warmer and the bugs weren't as heavy there, and it would probably be easier for them to get a good night's sleep and then hop in the water and go to extraction. I don't know how true that is. Maybe production was like, hey, we need you to be on the dock for this. And so it's either production or just to make it a little bit easier and more comfortable for the survivalists. But I unfortunately haven't seen like a cemented answer for that. But they sleep on the dock, and then they get up, and then they head towards extraction. But on night 20, going back a little bit, there was a croc that either bumped into their shelter or got really close to their shelter, so it was very worrisome, but everything turned out fine. And also, for the survival kit for this challenge, Laura makes a basketball. She makes it out of vines, and it's really cool, and Justin still has it, and it's Justin versus Laura, and Laura gets the first basket, but Justin makes the most baskets, but Laura does get the first basket, so good on her for doing that. And Laura was saying how the difference between surviving and thriving is how much fun you can have on a challenge. So if you're having fun and getting it done, then you're thriving. And I think that Laura is a thriver because she is extremely talented. She has really great ideas. She's very tough. She's not going to just sit around and do nothing. She comes up with ideas and she helps execute said ideas, so that's really great. And going back to day 21, they make their plan and head out for extraction. They save themselves a few miles by going straight through the lagoon, and fortunately they're not attacked by anything. And they make it to extraction. Congrats to Laura and Justin for making it to extraction. Laura lost 21 pounds and her PSR goes from 9.6 to 9.7. And she says, we'll see you on the next one. And it is revealed in a commercial that Laura is going to be on Last One Standing Season 3. And I feel so bad for everybody else who's not Laura, Kai, Matt, or Max, because those are some legendary survivalists right there. And it'll be interesting to see. And we've also seen a hint on another individual who is going to be participating. They've done 2 challenges and have 61 days, and people are giving their guesses. Many people are saying Malorie, Shell, maybe Lindsay, even though she was on Last One Standing Season 2. I looked it up, and I think Alana, Shannon, and Alyssa are definitely good candidates, but it'll be interesting to see. I think that the person is either Malorie or Shannon, but I'm usually wrong. And also, going back to the episode, Justin lost a total of 30 pounds, and his PSR goes from 6.3 to 7.1. And Justin says he doesn't necessarily want to do more challenges, but it would be great to see Justin and Kyle be on an Excel together or another challenge at the same time, and so they can have a hair fight, because everyone is saying how Justin and Kyle have great hair. So we can hopefully see a hair fight at some point, and we can decide who is best. But that is the episode. Thank you all so much for listening. Congrats to Laura and Justin. Malik, I'm so sorry that you ended up having to leave the challenge. A lot of individuals are saying that he should come back for redemption, and I agree. Hopefully he can come back. And next week's episode is Toxic Redemption, featuring Andrew, Chev, Trey, and Chad, who have all tapped on previous challenges, but now they're doing a all-male redemption challenge part 2, like how they did with Danny, Anthony, Chris, and Andrew. Will history repeat itself and one of them tap? I think that's a possibility. Will 2 end up tapping? That's a lower possibility. But I think that at least one of them will tap. I'm not going to say who I think that's going to be, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully all of them can make it through, but again, I think one or more may be tapping. At least one will be tapping, maybe. And we'll see if history repeats itself, but we'll see. Thank you all so much for listening. Please like, comment nice things, and subscribe. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Okay. Also, click the next video if it's mine. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.